Zlurpcast!
Oh, look at this thing. What a cool shirt. What's going on up here? Is that? I don't know what that white stuff is. We don't need to talk about that. But if you want to get a Zlurpcast shirt, go to zlurpcast.net, get that. Look at that. Is that a sticker?
It's a sticker, a big-ass sticker.
Okay, big-ass sticker, a BAS, if you will, and pretty fantastic. So when you buy things that have the Death Path characters or the official logo or the new Zlurpcast TV thing with the names, all that helps the show a little bit. Biran got a new microphone. You know what I mean? So he cashed that smooth $24.50 check. That's 24.50 to be clear. This is Zlurpcast TV. We have Valdric, we have Xtreme, we have Biran. I am Jonny P. We talk about tabletop games on this show. Usually we review them, and then like an off week we do a filler episode. This one is a filler episode. I'm not here to say those are bullshit, those are garbage, those are whatever. That's what you guys say. Time's going to tell. I don't know, like in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, maybe the views even out. Right now, based on the views, the game review ones are double the viewership. You guys have anything to say about that? Is that what you thought was going to happen?
I think the real fans watch these.
I think most of the views are us doing what you told us to just click on them and put them on mute and let them play all the way through.
Yeah,
while
tell your family and friends to.
Yeah,
just put it on mute. Hit play, mute, minimize window. Like, done.
No,
like,
hit play, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, mute, minimize window.
Ring the bell. And if you want to put in the comments, hey, I didn't even watch this one, I don't give a shit. Right now, we're on a pretty good streak. We have only one of our review video, or one of our Zlurpcast TV videos total, has thumbs down as of right now, and that's Technobowl. 7 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. That's a net of 5 up. That's it. The rest are all thumbs up, so thank you for that. You guys think because it's a board game that's what happened? I don't know. A little more critical.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know. Like, I could see like the Blood Bowl one getting some negative action because there was some a-hole that review bombed it with a 1.
We all said it was great. The only thing is we talked about the Kickstarter and then like why we didn't like,
That's
the
Dreadball.
but still, it ain't thumbs down worthy, but it ain't for me to say, whatever. So yeah, check out all those videos. Today we're going to talk about miniature games, but not a game in particular. We're talking about models for those games that you use for more than one game. That's models, that's terrain, that's multi-use. And I don't want this to be a hobo topic, as Biran would say. It's not about that. I mean, sure, did Biran buy pre-painted D&D models for Frostgrave? Yes. He did not buy them for Frostgrave. He repurposed them. I've seen Biran in action in his natural habitat. He doesn't mind. He did it to just, he had them, let's use them, whatever. Nothing wrong with that. So before we get into what models and terrain and other gaming supplies, accessories we use for more than one thing, I want to talk to you guys about, is this something you look for ever, or is it just kind of a byproduct?
I think it's a byproduct. It's also what's something I can get into without having to buy. It's not even the buying the miniatures, it's putting together and painting them. Do I want to make that level of sacrifice? Or is it something that I could try with using what I already have done?
It's not always money. Sometimes it's time and effort too.
I don't think it's anything that I've ever looked for. It's and I don't know. I don't like sharing miniatures across games at the same time, but sometimes repurpose miniatures that were designed for a different game. I'll use them for another game. But it's always just kind of a personal choice. It's never something that I go out looking for.
Xtreme as the big Blood Bowl guy here. I just want to say that.
Best party game.
Yeah, party game. Good dungeon crawl too.
Yeah.
The pitch is kind of the field, whatever. I believe, Xtreme, you I don't want to say you give me a hard time. You're not that kind of person to give me, your friend a hard time. But you've talked in the past about people that do multi-purpose Blood Bowl teams. This works as human, Norse, and Chaos Pact with a couple of inserts. You still frown upon that, right?
I would never do it personally because I would get confused and I don't like it. And I don't have a problem with other people that do it as long as I don't have to play them multiple times with the team that changed its rules. So if I play you once a year and that's the only time I ever see that team, I don't care what the hell you're playing it as. But if I have to play you 2 weeks later and it's a different race, now I have a problem.
So you painted up an awesome elf team for me, the Buffy themed elves. They look great. I've used them as high elves and pro elves because I wanted to get rankings of both, and I don't have a real high elf team. Should have been a pro elf team, but should have been. By all, some people would have also used those as Amazons. I didn't do that, or did I? You know what? I take it back. I did. I fucking did. I did it
you did it as Slurpee Bowl.
I did it as Slurpee Bowl. And I brought what I thought was a broken roster because the whole team was blodgers. Biran, blodge as a term, block and dodge. Thoughts?
I'll allow it.
Oh, shit. Okay. I was going to go with Doc, the other way. But
Blodger sounds like a real word, though, especially from coming out of the UK, so it's okay.
He's a bit blodgy. Yeah.
Right.
I did use it as Amazon. Thank you, Xtreme. One time, I bet. I don't have the NAF records handy, nor do I want them to be handy. But I believe it was a one-time thing. I did use that. You wouldn't do that, but you don't really look down on it. That's just your preference in Blood Bowl, right?
Right. Yeah. It's more of a preference. It's not something I look down. If other people want to do that, that's fine.
Have the 40 miners have made appearances in other games?
No.
Now, what about Elf? E.L.F.
They wouldn't be allowed because they're not elves. They're dwarves. Come on. Obviously.
They actually played
I guess the lore of the 40 miners did carry over into my Kings of War army a little bit, but
you painted in the same way too.
Yeah, because came from the same hull, and like all my terrain kind of fit in with the 40 miners lore, but it wasn't the actual team models.
Mike, Lord,
weren't you playing? Was that your Chaos Wars, or did you have just a straight dwarf army?
I had a dwarf army.
Okay. Yeah, straight dwarf.
I've got a lore check for Mike. Mantica and the Blood Bowl universe, are they connected?
The multiverse. The Brian Mitchell multiverse.
Panathor, by the way. Mantica is a region of Panathor, so.
Panathor?
Panathor.
What's that from? Is that like some guy's name?
I don't know.
Like the first playtester? Mike Panathor. So, Xtreme, I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to, catch you. Or I just want to kind of feel you out there because I know with Blood Bowl, no. But if Blood Bowl spills over, that's okay, but not the other way around, probably, right?
I mean, how would it spill over?
Here. Let me give you an example. Blitz Bowl. You have a Blitz Bowl team. You buy, but you want to be a good customer to your friendly local, game store. So you buy the full-size Blood Bowl box of dwarves. You paint them all up, but you only need half the box to play Blitz Bowl. Would it still be okay to then use that half box and the rest of the box to play Blood Bowl? 2 games, 1 set of models.
I mean, that's a very blurry line there because they're both Blood Bowl-ish games.
Well, it's not blurry. Just say yes.
That's the exception that proves the rule, perhaps?
Right.
No, again, though, it'd be personal preference. I wouldn't do that even.
Well, because you hate the dwarf models for the new ones.
Well, no,
forget about that.
Let's say I love my 40 miners team. Would you take half those models and play Blitz Bowl?
Right, exactly. That's what I was going to bring up. Xtreme, we're playing.
I think you could, yeah.
I'm not playing Blood Bowl anytime soon. We're playing Blitz Bowl. You, under no circumstance, would you bring 6 40 miner models to that game?
Yeah.
Even if you could tell what was the Troll Slayer, what one was the...
No, it's nerdier and even more weird than that. I would see it as a demotion for those players. Like, so now they're going back to the scouting.
Like they got regulated. That's what they do in the soccer over there.
You can retcon that shit. You can say the NAF collapsed again and they don't have jobs. Boom, done.
I mean, didn't the NAF collapse?
Again?
Didn't that really happen?
Well,
I don't know. I don't keep track.
the NAF collapsed in the story, and then the real life NAF is collapsing. Like as soon as Mike's finally done sending dice out,
That'll be it.
That's the fucking Kerplunk stick right there. You know what I mean?
That's like the last green bar printer that's kicking out reports.
Right.
If someone just finally goes, "Why is this here?" and they unplug it.
He's like, somebody still knows COBOL. Just saying. You know, someone's got to know that. Xtreme, would the general of your Kings of War dwarf army be a dwarf coach ever?
Probably not. No.
Okay.
Because I mean, what would a Blood Bowl coach know about being a general of an army?
It's the gridiron, man.
Well, what would a general know about Blood Bowl coach? I think it goes the other way.
Maybe.
If you were playing Blood Bowl, you wouldn't want to like work your ass off if you knew your coach what he fucking went through.
Yeah, but I mean, tactics-wise, what does he really know?
I think we're getting bogged down in the minutiae
We're
of
not gonna
Blood
take
Bowl.
the fucking flank. We're on a pitch.
All right, I'm just checking to see kind of where you fall there. It's not a money issue. It's more of a. Do you think it's cool? Do you think it fits? Right? I mean, Xtreme. What do you think?
I mean, it's not a money issue because I think I'm spending more money doing it the way that I have it stuck in my mind that I need to
That's
do
what
it.
I'm saying. I mean, it's to save money by using one model for more than one. Now,
For Brian, it's an integrity issue.
Yes.
it could be. Well, I think it's the most part. It's a personal choice. That's one. But really, it's a setting issue for me. What makes sense? So let's just kind of this is going to be kind of a train of thought kind of episode. This is a 40K master of something, executions, summoning, or something like that. There's no game this guy could jump into besides 40K Kill Team or Apocalypse. He's got power armor. He's got very chaosy things. I don't see him in another sci-fi game because Space Marines and Chaos Marines scream 40K.
It's distinctive, yes.
Very. Whereas, like, I think about this guy I bought on eBay a long time ago. This is the painted dwarf guy. Looks really cool. He's my, like, whatever. He's like everything in every fantasy game. He's like, I've got a note for you. Here's a map. Oh, by the way, he's the coach. He's just everything because I think he's a cool model there. Is that wrong to use him for a bunch of fantasy games?
No. There's nothing about him that specifically ties it to one property.
No. I think it's actually a 3D sculpt, like a printed model.
No,
I bought it painted. And it's got like an orc head. He just lopped off. But nothing wrong with that. There's something about the level of IP and that setting, when it's so specific, it's hard to merge, right?
Yeah,
Well,
I would say. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say that's the whole design plan of GW now is to make sure their stuff is only usable for that setting, and the only, there's a lot more overlap with fantasy settings, but even the current GW Age of Sigmar stuff is very tied to the setting.
Yeah, especially like the whatchamacallit, the Space Marines in Sigmar. What are they called?
Yeah. Would you say that was a big part of the changeover?
I don't think it was unintentional. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But it's
I'm
sort of
not
like
saying that they did it for that, although they did a lot of other things for that.
It's like them changing the name of their paint colors. They need.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I will say I actually think it's 100% intentional. I don't think it's that and other reasons. I personally think that was number one. You can tell people fantasy sales weren't doing well. Whatever, you can tell people whatever the fuck you want. But fact of the matter is, you saw that 40K, you can lock down on people making shoulder pads and melta guns on the side. And how can we do that for fantasy? Well, we don't own dwarves and elves. We don't own them. But the Idonith Deepkin or whatever, you can own that. Because I think I asked you, Mike, do they even have elves? You're like,
sort of.
You can't even people can't even answer the question. Does Games Workshop still have an elf army? There's not even an answer to that question because they've 40K-icized that. I don't even care about Stormcast. I don't like them. Doesn't matter. But that aside, look at the rest of the races. There are the ones that are hanging on, and probably are they like legacy, like not even legal or whatever.
Well, no, they've kind of released a new, more pure elf-like army, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, the I forgot what they're called.
Yeah.
But there still is
Lumineth
the
or
Cities of
something?
Sigmar, which are the old dwarves and
Yeah.
Empire humans, and mostly so they can still make those and sell those models. I wish they would have come out with a new human, just
But like going back to 40K, I would say almost everything in Necromunda is ripe for use in other fantasy sci-fi skirmish games.
Yeah, the reason why Necromunda works now, the only thing standing in the way might be scale issues, but
Yeah.
if that's not a problem, if it's just the look of the models, you're right. Like Necromunda models, we're gonna have an episode of Necromunda, and I'll talk about why it's my favorite game not to play. It's my tagline for that. It's my absolute favorite game to think about and not play.
You like the idea of it.
Oh my God, I got every book. I got every hardcover book because they're fantastic. It's just like, wait, this? The guy I play's not going to have this and this and this. It's all over the place. But the beauty of the Necromunda look and feel is it is so typical post-apocalyptic, just whatever goes. You got the punk girls. You got the beefed up guys. You got the standard issue kind of guys. You got the ninja.
You like science miscreation guys and
ninja type guys with the cool armor, cool weapons. You got all the typical tropes or whatever that you look for. So that's cool. If it was, I mentioned in the past about Dark Heresy role playing game. If we were using miniatures for that, the Necromunda line would be the place to go for that. There's no better outside of maybe an Inquisitor from 40K. There's nothing better than the Necromunda line for a 40K role playing. I want to get in this universe. I'm not a space marine because there's no real thought process there. I want to be just a guy that's got some
Space Marines can't fuck. Why would I want to play that?
They can rub suits.
Yeah.
There's that. They can generate something from power armor. But the Necromunda guy, you look at those bounty hunters and shit. There's just so much character in those, and I love that. You're right, Biran. That could be used for anything, provided it fits. Now, could you see Necromunda mixed with Dead Zone or Infinity?
No, it would. The scale's not right.
So I tried for a while. I had those Chaos Cultists that came in one of the 40K box sets, and I used those in Dead Zone. And it was weird because everybody else was taller than me, but I was fatter than everybody. And it seemed weird. This is the GW way of exaggerated features, bigger guns than real, thicker guns. You look at an Enforcer, and his gun is almost too thin. It's too real, where you can't even a pistol. It looks like it could break off at any minute. So there's no meat there. But that's probably more the realistic side. And those other sci-fi games have that. If you look to another skirmish game, say Wild West Exodus and Tombstone Dracula's America, you have Wild West Exodus, which are very tall, lanky models, but then they got things on them because
sci-fi, cyber, steampunk nonsense.
There's something going on there. They're not. Whereas an undead cowboy, that's pretty universal. You can use that in a bunch of games, but then you put him next to Wild West Exodus, it's the Wild West Exodus guys are all character. Everybody's a character in that game. You don't use the model, it's kind of fucked up, kind of weird. Whereas other skirmish games that have Wild West, you don't have that issue. So it's always dependent on setting, I think. Would you guys ever tell someone you can't use that in your games?
No, I would just shame them secretly.
Okay. Would you make it about money or lack of imagination, or what would your?
I would probably go the hobo route, because hobo doesn't have to mean money. It could be laziness too.
Right.
Because hobos are lazy.
Biran, I would love to jump in what's the most recent game you're playing, Biran?
Probably Star Wars Legion of any
Star Wars Legion. So I'm going to join the friendly Ask Grognard's secret group, Whoops, out of the bag. I say I got this Orc Stompa I just painted up. That is my let's fucking do it. Not going to fly though, right?
I'd say, great, meet us there on Tuesday, and then just show up on Thursday.
I have another scenario to play out. So I want to play Legion, but I want to use all my Star Wars Lego guys. Those cost a lot of money, so I put money into it.
Right.
Can I play Legion with you?
Well, you could, yes. But could a rando? No.
So I saw the other day on, I think it was on, I don't remember if it was on eBay or a Legion group. A guy, his whole army was Legion models with Lego heads. And I was like, wow, like you.
So he took the time and then just decided to shit all over it.
How much money is invested? That's like the other guy that did the Star Wars Space Marines. Same thing.
Yep.
He took Legion. Wait, what if it was the same guy? Because Legion bodies.
Because that way he's not wasting anything.
Right. So Vader's body, Lego head. That's one thing. I'm funny guy to this group. Then Vader's head on Space Marine Captain, Librarian, whatever body.
Like you think he's that guy in the group. Oh, hey guys, look what I did.
The same guy. Look what I can do. I bet it's the same guy. I didn't even think about that. He's pretty resourceful. Now, I don't
Now, if you were to come with your, what's the Star Wars game, the RPG Descent? Yeah. If you're bringing those out of scale, let's say you had enough to do a Star Wars Legion Army, I was like, yeah, sure.
You know, it's weird. I actually haven't sized them up. I know they're smaller. It's probably not going to be that noticeable anyway, because we're shooting at each other and whatever things happen. I wouldn't do it because that's not my thing. But somebody might. I do have probably a handful of stormtroopers, but you know,
you probably don't have nearly enough. Yeah,
not enough anyway. But somebody could. What's the other big one now is using hero clicks in Marvel.
Hero clicks for Marvel. That you got to be careful with because base size is so important in that game.
Yeah. What if
if you were consistent? If you
both
were
sides,
what you call a hobo group,
well,
if everyone was using.
Or the easy fixes, you go to one of those old timey game stores, you buy all the MDF bases.
Yep.
I'm by the book. I bought the bases.
Did you post, hey, I lost my character cards for a source?
I'd like to think that they carved off the base, but I bet you there's somebody that stuck the whole HeroClix base on the MDF base.
Yeah, well, that makes them taller so they look more in scale.
Yeah.
That's true. Painted like steps, maybe they wouldn't even do that though. But I could see that happening. I wouldn't do it. Now, I only do it when I think it's something cool, like when I think it's valid. So here's another one. This is an old, Mike remembers this guy, had this guy in Kings of War. I use this Wraith in any fantasy game. I've used him in Kings of War. He's been an undead coach for a Blood Bowl team. He's been in Dungeon Hat. He's been every game.
Wears a lot of hats.
He wears a lot of hats. It was a one of those quick kind of like, can I do this green thing? Does it work? Yeah, it worked. It was like 10 minutes. Great. Nothing wrong with that. Like he doesn't not fit in anything. I could even bring him in he's a fucking Wraith. He could show up in Wild West or Dracula's America, right?
Yep. Sure.
Oh, totally.
Anything. This is. Could he show up in 40K?
Yes.
I bet he could. I bet he's like a Necron
something or other.
Like some Necron god shit him out, and that was his like whatever, or he shrank down to this form to fit in. I don't know. There's some things that are like backwards compatible. I think like you wouldn't use 40K stuff.
Well, and remember, like this reminds me of the Kings of War, how it's like use whatever you want, but oh God, please use our miniatures because we're barely in business. But
Biran, did you though? Did you get when you did Kings of War? Did you use theirs?
Yes, because I bought prepainted shit from.
Yeah.
No, my goblins were all GW stuff.
Right. I just because I built when we all got into Kings of War, and I'm sure we'll have an episode on that. Future Pachow. We all bought a Mantic army. I thought so. Xtreme bought dwarves. Mike had abyssal dwarves. Right. I
bought Joe Dietz Abyssal Dwarf's army.
I thought you had ogres. No,
that's Todd.
Todd
had ogres. And
Ryan, you had orcs that you bought from Jonny too.
Brian did?
Yeah, Biran did.
Yeah, I was mad that I didn't buy those.
I have them now.
Yeah.
Oh, you fucker! I based the whole orc thing and I just was like, I'm never.
But I did use some Lord of the Rings ring wraith on Fell Beast.
Yeah.
As necromancer on dragon or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
That was fine.
I think Lord of the Rings and Kings of War it makes a nice combo.
Yeah, because they're good scale. Well, remember at Dragstar, what's his face? The owner of Dragstar. Dan had a full goblin army from Lord of the Rings and used that, and it looked awesome.
Yeah.
Was that they were like on like a deck?
Yes, they were like a double level thing, and
yeah.
I don't know if it was like supposed to be like next to a pool. Looked like they were all like they were like.
It was like Mines of Moria or something.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I think he did pretty well against me with that too. That was yeah.
That's when
right.
he won his own trophy for best painting.
Yeah. He won best theme.
Who voted on it?
He did.
Did he vote on it himself?
That's one because he couldn't win the regular best painted Mantic one because he didn't have any Mantic models. So the only ones eligible were me and Mike, and I didn't even paint my own stuff.
At that tournament, I lost an ogre, and I was pissed because it was like one of the gun ogres, and then I needed 4 to like put on a thing instead of 3 because minimum model count, and then I only had 3 after that moment. Those kind of go together, I think. Now, when it comes to Kings of War, Biran, give me a scenario when, because it isn't anything goes models. Right. Give me a scenario you've seen where it's like, no, don't use those models for this.
I've seen, and I wouldn't even call them models, where people just cut out a square or use an index card and then go to Hobby Lobby into the dinosaur rubber doll section and then buy a couple of those and stick them on the index card and call that whatever. No, that's not allowed.
Not going to do that. At that point, why are we playing miniatures, right?
Or the funny thing is, was it Shannon? There was some model that he had that was like a good 2 feet tall. But the rule said it could be on a base X size. So we used the smallest base possible, and the thing was barely able to stand.
So I remember when I think I was playing orcs, and I had an orc dragon, and he was supposed to be, I didn't want him on a smaller base.
Right.
I think someone told me you have to put him on a 50 by 50 square.
And he was a little front heavy.
I actually glued two of these like ninja goblins that were metal. I glued them to the back of the base on top. They were like cheering on just to weight it down. And then once I got him into combat, his long neck couldn't reach. So I remember putting him on like a dice, the dice
cubes,
cube or whatever. That was his thing. He always was on that. It looked so stupid, but I was actually trying to be by the rules because the base it came with was way too big, and that's not allowed, right?
Mm-hmm. So. Well, and a bigger base is not good for you usually in that game.
No.
Because you can't maneuver.
That's true. Yeah, everybody's getting rear charges and whatnot. So.
And if you're flying, you need a certain amount of space to land. You need to fit your base.
What are some games? Before we started recording, I went to my game room. I'm loaded. I've got a game room. Just too hot to fucking do the show on. No big deal. Can't go in there. Storage. It's fucking storage. I started looking around at the different like boxes, like cases, models, everything. There's kind of just a 10-minute kind of like, what do I multi-purpose? And I saw things like, so I was playing tanks with Dean. If I ever wanted to play Flames of War, I have a good amount of German tanks I could play. I'd need to have infantry to go with it, but I could play that. I've got that. I was looking at my Hot Wheels collection. Everyone remembers Skeletor, everyone's favorite there. He can be in Gaslands, Devil's Run, Car Wars. There's probably another game on Kickstarter right now with using Hot Wheels cars. I was looking at, I kept this guy. I got rid of my Rivet Wars, but I kept this guy. And I'm like, if I ever play a chibi game, there's no way I'm not going to use fucking Rambo in the game. Why wouldn't I use that? Everything, though. Deadpool trucks selling chimichangas, obviously. I mean, there's a lot out there if you really think about it. Now, it's not because I'm trying to be cheap. When I think there's something cool and I spend time either painting it or whatever, converting it, I'd like to use it. What are some that you guys can think from the top of your head like that you've multi-purposed intentionally?
I'm, like I said, I'm very much against you doing it as a personal preference, but when you mentioned terrain, it kind of sparked something there. I use Dead Zone terrain for almost everything. So that would be...
up. So let's talk about this piece right here. This is 2 Dead Zone buildings that are mounted on a 12 by 12 piece of wood here. I use this in 40K. I've used it in Necromunda, but not just GW. Obviously Dead Zone. Now, Dead Zone's a little different because I think I left one square in here. I didn't measure that one because on the edge, it's a half. So this actually could work in Dead Zone. It would be like it'd be half a cube over. It wouldn't be on 3 by 3. You know what I mean? But is this wrong to use for Star Wars Legion, Biran?
No.
Okay. Because I brought it up once. You kind of said I would never use Dead Zone for Star Wars, and I'm
That's
like,
because of the Mantic stink.
oh, not because of what they look like.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't stink away. I don't give a fuck anymore.
I believe I have actually used Mantic terrain for.
What else? What other games have we talked about that this could be used for without getting a laugh from the peanut gallery?
Well,
I think it would be great for actually Marvel Crisis Protocol.
So I didn't want to say. I'm getting into that now. I didn't want to say. I wanted to see if someone else said it first. There's no reason. I mean, this is clearly not New York City, but it's a place.
Research facility.
Where the fuck isn't there a battle in Marvel? Like, I mean, where isn't fighting occurring ever?
The reason I wouldn't want to use it is because so much of the terrain in that game's interactive, and you can't really.
No, I would want to use it as if you built it as cubes, because then you could say this cube is size whatever.
I don't know enough about it yet, but I mean, if I said it counts as something, is that too confusing for people or no?
Well, it matters because you want Hulk to be able to pick up that whole giant thing, and you have to be able to remove it and throw it.
If this is like the size of one of the stores that come in the box set,
like
if they weren't glued down and you could like pick up one cube at a time, I think it'd be okay.
Hulk cannot throw Taco Bell no matter how much I want him to.
He can throw the yuppie couple eating outside though, right?
And he can throw the cars.
Of course.
And the newspaper stand he can throw that comes in the box.
So I actually probably won't use this because I think the terrain is awesome in the game. But I have no problem using that where I think it's applicable. Not just, obviously GW, sci-fi, but any sci-fi. If I played I don't really play a lot of other sci-fi skirmish games, but if I did, I would have no problem using that. Xtreme, what were you going to say about your terrain and multi-use there?
Dead Zone I use for anything that's any sci-fi or steampunk related type stuff. Throw Dead Zone terrain down. So it's
great. It really, I mean,
I think it works for sci-fi and even near future, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think
post-apocalyptic, sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think it could work for current day as well. I mean, I think that, I think about other Mantic games, and Biran's own aversion to Mantic aside. Let's say like those brick buildings in Mars Attacks. I don't even want those because I don't play Mars Attacks. I guess Walking Dead, and maybe you can do like if I was playing a World War II game and I wanted like broken apart buildings, but I wouldn't even use it for that, even though it's supposed to be current, like relatively, right?
Yeah. Well, it's any kind of brick building. Todd has some painted up Mars Attacks scenery. It looks really good.
Okay.
I wouldn't use it for sci-fi, but I'd use it for modern day or near future, sure.
Okay. Maybe I didn't look at it enough to think that it could be for that. I know they talked about using, Mantic at one time, wasn't there like one of those, get Ronnie drunk moments where he says, how about we do the same thing with castle walls? Like, I swear that was the thing. And I'm like, sounds great. I don't know how you would do it. Now, I say that as a segue to like this kind of stuff. Like, it's kind of like Dwarven Forge, but cheaper because 3D printed. But I mean, this, I have played Blitz Bowl on this, on the squares. I made a 10 by 10. I think that's what it is. I've played Rumble Slam on this. I didn't want to lay models down because it's pretty like rigid and hard. But any kind of dungeon crawl, it's great. I spent a good amount of money on a bunch of this stuff because I'm like, do you know how many games I can use 3D dungeon for? Like, it's like I didn't want to do this. I saw a sci-fi one like this. It kind of looked like Alien. It had that like I don't know, that like
ridges. It was ribbed for your pleasure.
That, it's like H.R. Geiger, that style.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really wanted that. And it's probably harder to paint than a whole lot of dry brushing, which is what this is going to be. But I mean, I thought about multi-purpose when I bought this, because when you're shelling out like $300 for terrain, it's like, well, how many? I could use it for anything I want. Is that something you guys look at?
I think terrain's definitely something you think about multi-purpose more often, not only because of the money, but the space it takes up, and it's terrain, so you want to be able to use it for more than one thing.
Well, and in the Dead Zone stuff's generic enough, but when I see people at Grognard Games, Roselle, Illinois, and I see them set up for Infinity. Roselle, Illinois.
I think you said Roselle, Illinois.
Yeah, close enough. But when I see them setting up their board for Infinity with all that anime looking terrain, I think it looks great. but I don't think you want to play 40K on that or any sort of more grimmy, darky place. You know, it's too clean.
Right. You know what's funny is there's a I got another Dead Zone thing here that I was working on. This was a what's a paintbrush in there? This building, it used to be blue, and this piece, this top part, is actually from Infinity because it has like a neon sign that goes in there. I don't really use it, but I've used it before. It's like an advertisement for like a fictional, get a new body, you know, inquire within kind of thing. And I don't really want to use it with that, but I mean, once you take it out, you can modify that. But you're right, out of the box, the Infinity stuff's a little too shiny,
a little too anime. Yeah. What do you use for your board? The bottom part.
So I went on Amazon and I looked up, I think an 1/8 inch, 12 by 12. So the downside, if I were to do it again, the reason why I wanted to get 1/8 inch and not thicker was so it laid flatter. I do have one of these. This one's actually okay. I'm going to use my screen there. I have one that's warping a bit.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
I don't know if it's happened before I glued stuff and my gluing ruined it or what, but this one seems to be okay. It looks like it's pretty relatively straight. These one, it was like a pack of 6 or 12 or whatever, but I wanted 12 by 12 for a lot of reasons, just because of how much standardization there is in many games, whether it's 40K. I mean, you think about it, if I did it, it was, so a thing in Dead Zone, so in Dead Zone terms, it's 4 by 4. It's 4 threes, if that makes sense, four 3 by 3 cubes. So I think if I built them right, not that one, and not the other one I showed, but the other ones where I actually put a building on the edge and then another building on the other edge, and it's spaced for Dead Zone, those other 4, I actually could put boom, 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 boom on a Dead Zone, or I don't even need a Dead Zone mat at that point because that is the Dead Zone mat. And it would work because it's spaced out for that. So I think using 12 inches was just for many reasons. I think it fits well. I know a lot of people seem to like that standardization there, but that was a big thing with that. Now, it's going to be harder to store. I used to store all my Dead Zone in a big plastic tub, and I threw it in there. I didn't give a shit. Now.
No, you had a system.
What was the system? Oh, no, I did. The tub had everything else.
Right.
The box, it was Tetris. And fun fact, I'm using the Shadow or Armageddon box for my Necromunda Zone Mortalis walls that Xtreme builds. That is, currently, it's a great box, and I have all those in there. Right now, the current status of those items in there is one fuck up, in that one piece doesn't fit. Here's the thing, I fit them all before. I know I fit them all before.
Throw it away.
Throw it over.
I put all the corner pillars this way. Maybe I did it that way. Fuck, I should have taken a picture. And then when you get to the edge, what happens there? So I am currently at one fuck up on that one.
I have 2 hobby tips for your tile of terrain there. You can buy floor tiles for your 12 by 12, and they're sturdier, thicker, don't move around as much because they're tile. The other ones with yours is warping. If you do a layer of glue on the back side, it'll cause it
counteract
to warp.
it.
Counteract warp, yeah.
Like Elmer's glue or super glue?
Elmer's glue.
It'd be too expensive, super glue. You need a lot.
Well, I said I'd probably die. I'd be huffing a lot of that too. So put glue on the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then it'll cause it to warp the opposite way and kind of level everything out.
Okay. Oh, good to know. Thanks for the tip. And you said to use a tile, like a kitchen
like
tile?
a floor tile.
Yeah. I thought that probably would have been better. But surprisingly, only one of the 6 that I built is really like doing it so far. But I guess time's going to tell on that. We'll see what happens. Other terrain, since we're kind of on that note, what else is out there that you bought that? Because you're right, Xtreme. Money's part of it, but storage and the size of it, terrain is, it's a pain in the ass. That's why people go to, and there's many reasons people go to game stores, but a big reason is they got tables, they got terrain. I mean, you buy hills any game. You buy a little whatever, things that you see in nature. That's for any game, right?
I really like that.
The forest.
I like the Battlefield in a Box stuff, the pre-painted stuff. They have various themes for it that you can get. And it's not as expensive as you would typically think for something that's usually resin and hardy.
Yeah, those are resin and pre-painted,
Yep.
and not super expensive, and they're great. I've bought in like walls and stuff, and
Mhm.
oil barrels and stuff from them.
Bocage. You can get bocage from them.
What is that?
It's the hedgerow stuff from World War II.
Oh, that's what that's called? Oh, fun fact. I remember getting, so while I don't have the Song of Ice and Fire miniatures anymore, I was like, I sold them off, I'm playing it. I kept all the terrain because that Kickstarter had a good amount of everything. They have the GW style where it was like a plastic rim and 3 tree spots. And then there's a bunch of like castle wall, and they all had defined bases. And I'm like, that's pretty sweet. Like you can use that for anything. It's just
Oh,
trees
you had the terrain that's actually 3D, not just the 2D stuff that.
Yeah, I did the package in the Kickstarter with all that, and then I added on whatever the other scenery to get everything. Because I knew even if I wasn't super into the game, that was like, I'm set because any game could use any of that kind of stuff. And I mean, is plastic molded terrain better than nicely painted like foam stuff? It doesn't usually look as nice. You'd think it would be, but the nice thing about that stuff is I haven't painted any of it yet. It actually looks okay as is because they use brown plastic for the tree and green up top. I mean, they use the colors. So
Well, I have like 4 of those Citadel Forests because I played the Sylvaneth, and you need those to play them. I painted one of them. It looks pretty good, and I'm like, I'm never painting the rest of these goddamn things.
Is it already green, like green and brown?
No, it's gray.
Oh, okay.
But it's good terrain for anything. I mean, it's just, I don't want to do that.
Well, I think GW, didn't they repackage all the fantasy terrain or whatever, Age of Sigmar terrain, whatever, to
Right.
Warcry?
Yes, yeah, they did. Some of it is just really bad.
Yeah.
There's that mausoleum set that is not to
flat,
scale. Right? No, it's teeny tiny buildings. It looks like it's true 28 mil scale, maybe if even that.
Yeah.
With very pitched roofs that you can't put anything on.
What's the other one that was just like a marble flat?
That one's okay because it's got a big flat surface, but it's so boring. And the steps that are on it, you can't put anything on.
Yeah, you can't use them as steps. Yeah.
You know what's funny is while I do actually like the we did a Warcry episode. Pachow, anyone can pachow that if they like. There you go, you got it. The terrain that came with Warcry was great.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use that for any fantasy game. Let me talk about Warcry models and how those are pretty good multi-purpose fantasy models.
Yes.
They're just like thug-like, almost like the equivalent of Necromunda.
Yeah.
To that, would you say it's kind of like you can use that for whatever?
Generic cultists because they're all to a theme, you know? Yeah. And there's that one team that looks like a bunch of gladiators. That works for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's the gladiator guys. There's, they all kind of have a distinct look about, like almost like, Mordheim gangs, or just
or like the Warriors, the movie The Warriors.
Right, I was just thinking about that. They all had a look, like a thing, as opposed to real gangs who don't have.
They don't all dress alike.
They don't have costumes.
Yes.
So they do have that. It's cool. Those are good. Like the Iron Golems, I think those are great. Whatever fantasy, just chaos.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
totally.
What are some other ones out there that you guys have either intentionally bought or model wise?
We just all in our group picked up Star Breach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which basically think of every sci-fi game out there, and there's the equivalent in that, and it is a bring your own model type game. So you can mix and match with like Jedi and Space Marines.
They're using everything.
Yeah. And
here's the thing. I was going to ask you about that. How would you feel about using all GW models for a different game?
I think if everyone used them, it would look great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have people like putting like different, everything's 28 mil, but nothing's 28 mil.
If we played a, Dead Zone rules with Necromunda models, that'd be kind of a fun variant.
Yes.
Necro Zone, if you will, or Dead Munda. Either way.
So it's kind of like if you have one guy show up with a bunch of Reaper models for any game, it stands out and looks dumb. But if everyone is using Reaper models, then it all fits in theme and it kind of looks cool.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about using models from other things and repurposing them when I started like Star Breach, I'm like, all right, I want to do this. I have like a pretty well painted Orlok gang. I'm like, but I want to do something different. I'm going to buy GW models, but not anything. I'm going to buy something new because I want to try something new.
It's a reason. It's like why when you play Kill Team, you'd think we should just grab our models from.
I'll have salamanders. Nope, I
never do that. I've never played I really don't think I've played an Orc or Raven Guard Kill Team. I used the one I built for Kill Team and their Chaos Marines. I think it's just more of it's a new thing. Why wouldn't you want to use it, right?
Right.
So for you playing Star Breach, so those models, are they going to be for you like Star Breach gang and not carry over?
Because I'll probably mix and match, I'm not going to buy one box of a Necromunda gang and make that my gang. I want to buy maybe a couple Necromunda guys, maybe something else. Obviously, the scale is important, so I'd probably stick with GW if I wanted to do GW. But if I didn't, I would stick to I'd probably buy all from one company just so it looked right. But
I think it's wherever your preference is. Now, there's a lot of obviously anti-GW people out there, but none of us, Xtreme to an extent, maybe a little bit, but we like the models a lot. So I usually err on the side of how can I fit them in more than how can I exclude them. If we're doing mix and match, it's a good way to do that. And they have a lot of different models out there. I think about when you're either converting, putting together things like usually it's for one purpose, but it's kind of a happy accident of sorts when you find you can use them for more than one out there. Anything else out there you could think of as far as, when using that, or maybe a conversion you did that was so awesome? For example, I mailed Xtreme one of my favorite Warhammer Fantasy models, the Chaos Sorcerer, like this, that he's got from an old games day. I want to use him for a bunch of different things because he's just a great model. It's not a cheap thing. Is there anything else you could think of as far as reasons why you'd want to use other ones?
I'm looking for an excuse to get those Necromunda Enforcers.
Yeah, I've got them. I didn't buy the shield ones. I don't actually like.
I don't like guys with shields because I don't do sub-assembly and it's a pain to paint it.
It's not, for me, it's not the shield. It's them. They decided to make them heavily like armored and like grenades all over. And I almost would rather just put the shields on I think the regular new Necromunda Forces look really good as is. Xtreme, what were you going to say?
I've been looking for an excuse to get Sisters models and use them in some other game that's not Games Workshop, but I haven't found that right game yet.
Maybe
Star Breach.
Maybe instead of finding the RIGHT game, you need to make the WRITEGAM. Why don't you make one?
Maybe.
Yeah. Kickstarter.
Ace Nuns and Dwarf Football Players by Brian Mitchell.
What more could a person ask for?
Call them Spuns and then play on a SMAT. Call them.
SMAT trademark Zlurpcast 2020.
SMAT. It sounds like a weird code, like a computer hacker thing. Like,
it'll be just like at Adepticon. Someone will go, look what I bought, and they'll hold up a snow-themed neoprene mat and go, well, I'll say SMAT.
And that's it for you. That might be our next shirt. Maybe we do like a snow shirt.
Yeah.
SMAT on it.
SMAT.
How about like ACDC logo, like SMAT? Just a thought.
We'll just go. Well, you could order right here. SMAT.
Before we wrap it up and go to our giveaway news, we talked about mats. Mats. What are the best mats to get to use for any game?
Anything neoprene.
Yeah, I was gonna say anything.
Well, there is a quality. Like fat mats seem to be the better quality. I found.
What about you? Want streets Xtreme? Fucking streets and signs and shit.
In a lot of games, sure.
The Marvel game has a pretty cool street mat.
Is that their own neoprene mat or a different company?
It's their own. Well, they didn't make it, but they licensed it.
Okay. I try to stick with. I have grass. I have like mud, dirt, whatever, and I have snow.
A SMAT, if you will.
SMAT, yeah. My favorite one is the brown one. I don't know what it is, but I think I like doing brown bases. You know, when you guys do bases, do you have a go-to color that matches things? Or
I do a gray ashy color myself.
for
I do
everything?
black.
Black, Mike?
Yep.
What about the texture on the base?
Well, that's whatever it is. It's grass or brown, whatever. But the ridge of the base is always black.
Oh, so I didn't necessarily mean, you're right, ridge, yeah, but I mean the whole look of it.
I'm an Eshin gray man for my ridge.
I do goblin green and
Just the whole base goblin green. Old school.
So you look at an old white dwarf and you see the old single pose
Next to a speed stick speeder.
Yeah, speed stick speeder.
Well, it was either goblin green or sawdust at that time, right?
mm-hmm.
Oh, flock, like railroad flock.
It was, yeah, it was bright green, a goblin green, and then the flock on top, and that was it. And that's, you know, my early Blood Bowl teams were all that. It's weird though. Like, why does that look so weird now? I don't know why.
Well, and also the pinnacle of painting was heavy, thick, like black outlines on everything, which has kind of come back a little bit with the Toon style. But I think that's already played out.
I like dirt and mud kind of on most bases, just because I think it, you know, any of those tabletop games, they work for it. But that's another multi-purpose. I knew when I bought like that, the brown mud mat cost more than I think it was like a fat mat or whatever, and that was like, you know, like $100, I think.
Well, fat mats, I could attest to the quality and how they held up. So I think Todd's been using one of my fat mats since he opened. And
Yeah, Todd. Yeah, we all gave him like 4 or 5 mats, and they're still there, and they're still being.
Great, yeah.
But like I have the neoprene field for Guild Ball that I use.
Yeah.
I cover my whole table, and it's already separating.
Does that have like goals and stuff on it?
It's got a place to put the gold, but it has the lines, you know.
Guild Ball. Maybe
I used a Guild Ball snow pitch for Frostgrave, and it was great.
Yeah. Smat, if you will.
Yeah, Smat.
No, he's really he's trying to make Smat happen. So stop trying to make Smat happen. It's a new hashtag out there. All right, Xtreme. Weren't you going to do a giveaway? You had cucumber sandwich, and we need to draw a name for that from one of the. Oh, before we looked at the entries, and so we had a lot of people get the right answer. All 3. The right answers were what, guys? The top
Relic
3.
Blade.
Tecmo Bowl.
Warp.
Frostgrave.
Frostgrave. Yep.
We just did it.
No,
We don't even know it. We would not win.
So
I don't watch this.
5 overall score, Zlurpee score for all of us. Those 3 all tied for the highest. That was the question. A lot of people submitted all 3 right answers. Now that's not a self-portrait of our winner, but it might be. We'll find out.
One was disqualified because he had too many umlauts in his name, and that screams too expensive to ship.
So there was an umlaut entry. He said Frostgrave, Relic Blade, and Blood Bowl. Now I don't know if he said that as a goof or not.
It could be that Scandinavian humor. Going by the umlauts.
I don't know. I don't remember if that was a goof or not, or serious.
Or maybe he was doing Xtreme's highest rated games.
Did you give Blood Bowl a 3?
I gave it a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, you gave Super Show a higher rating, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here then. So that one didn't make the cut. We had a bunch that did. So Xtreme.
No, I think I gave Blood Bowl 4, but it doesn't matter.
Everything matters, Xtreme. Everything. It will matter. And we're going to have a chance to go back to it, by the way. I can't wait for that. We're going to go back in some episode in April 2021. And
you're all going to put your Blood Bowl scores?
No, everything. I want to go back and say, what has changed? Like, go through the games. Did you play more? Did you play less? Do you think it's better? And we're going to have our ratings adjustment episode.
I think we've all played less.
Yeah, but
except for Blitz Bowl, that's about So
I mean, some games the less you play, the more you like it. Like what?
Yes, like Necromunda.
Necromunda is exactly. So Xtreme has Cucumber Sandwich, a card game that is about penises dressed up as people in your neighborhood. You know, you got some dick cops that's in there. You got some. Dick Doctor in there. You got them all. Let's draw a winner. from the Zlurp Nation, from all the entries that submitted the 3 right answers.
Are we ready to do this?
Do you want like a drum roll or something?
No, I got it. There we go. I got it.
Okay, got it. Gerald
Spencer Stevens.
Spencer Stevens.
The best Spencer.
Okay. Spencer Stevens, I know you're watching. You will be given this box. Ironically, it's like Dick in a box.
Signed by Xtreme, even though he didn't create the game. Just sign it anyway.
Let's sign it with your dick.
Yeah. It's gonna rub
So,
it on there though.
Let's adjourn this episode. Once again, follow on Zlurpcast, at Zlurpcast, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Tell your friends about this show. We have fun with it. We love interacting. For example, the Frostgrave one, we said, we're going to cover Frostgrave. We got the new rules. What do you want to know? Some people said, talk about this. We want to do that with more episodes. So feel free to interact if there's things you want us to cover on the shows. Join the discussion in the Facebook group. It's under Zlurpcast discussion. Otherwise, that's all I got. Any other words of wisdom from you fellas?
Play what you love what you play.
Roll dice.
Yes.
Go to zlurpcast.net and buy this. Bye.
Zlurpcast! Brought to you by Nuffles. Bet you can't just roll a 1.